We may have a few extra mosquitoes in the chambers this evening. We opened the back door to cool it down in here because it was rather warm and the miniature mosquitoes snuck in, so feel free to clap anytime you'd like, as long as you get them. Okay, good evening. Welcome to our council meeting this evening, Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Thank you for being here. I love to see a full chamber. So thank you for making that happen. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
This evening, June 2nd, Mr. Keller,
Here.
Mr. Schuster,
Here.
Mr. Brandt,
Here.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Jacobson. We will hold Mr. Claus and Mayor Church.
Here. Thank you. If you'll please remove your hats and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing, Mr. Williams will give the invocation. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious God, we pray for your blessing. Pray for your blessing to rest upon us as we meet this evening. Fill us with your favor and grace. Bless us with your deep revelation of your love and prayer. May your attendance be with us and lead us through the meeting in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Brings us on to action item 4, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the agenda.
I will second that. Any discussion on the agenda? Madam Clerk, please call the roll on that.
On the agenda for this evening, Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Claus, Mr. Keller, and Mayor Church.
Yes.
I'm going to mark Jeff absent at this point.
Okay, thank you. That brings us on to action item 5, approval of the regular meeting minutes from May 19th, 2025.
Move,
I heard the second, Benny. Who first did?
move to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 19th, 2025.
Okay, Santa and Benny.
Thank you very much. Any amendments, changes? Please call the roll.
On the roll for this evening's agenda, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Claus,
Yes.
and Mayor Church.
Yes, that brings us on to item 6, communications from the mayor. And at this time, I'd like to ask our new Director of City Services, Tim Glidden, to step forward for his oath of office.
Okay.
Extra mic here.
I, Tim Glidden,
I, Tim Glidden,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Alaska, Code of Ordinance,
Code of Ordinance,
faithfully discharge my duties
charge my duty
Tim, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it very
Thank you.
much. Glad you're here.
Cash? I,
Justin Cash,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the States
of the States,
The-
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the Code of Ordinances of the city.
Code of Ordinances.
Faithfully
I will faithfully as a police
Best, right?
Exciting evening. Thank you for that. Hi. For the record, no, Mr. Jacobson is here. Thank you for joining us. Other communications from the mayor. So I have talked with other municipalities and their legal departments asking for recommendations for our new city attorney. I have received a litany of names and have been reaching out to those firms, talking with them about possibilities of representing the city of North Pole. We have been very busy at the city doing some cleanup efforts for those people who have extra vehicles and trash laying out front. We have been leaving notices asking people to comply with the ordinances that are already set up. Last week, I visited Clear Space Force, which is pretty interesting. Met with the commander and the lieutenant commander who will be transferring command later this month. It was also in conjunction with the Interior Mayor's meeting. So mayors from Anderson, Nenana, Fairbanks, and the Denali Borough were there. It was a good meeting and a great tour and a chance for us as mayors to get together and talk about some things. So North Pole, just a couple of things. The flood map for the North Pole is changing. If you weren't aware of that, that will affect your flood insurance, especially for those folks out in Solcha. So tomorrow from 5 to 7, they're going to be going over the new maps at the North Pole Library. Wednesday, June 4th from 5 to 7 at the Solcha Senior Center, and then June 5th, 5 to 7 at the Knowing Library. And the flood maps that they're updating, that is borough-wide, but most of the changes are happening in the North Pole and Solcha area. Item number 5 that I have, as always, if any council member or resident has questions, would like to share their wisdom, ask me questions. My door is always open and it's right here at Chambers. You're more than welcome to come by, visit, have a cup of coffee, glass of water, pick up the phone and call. I try and be as accessible as I possibly can. So I just wanted to put that out there again and let everybody know that if they need me, I'm here. With that, any questions for me before we move on? Seeing none. That brings us to citizens' comments. Oh, yeah. Madam Clerk, would you mind, while Preston is getting comfortable here, reading the disclaimer?
Any person wishing to speak needs to sign up on the list located on the public testimony table. Respectful standards of decorum and courtesy should be observed by all speakers. Remarks should be directed to the council as a body rather than any one member of the council or staff. And you have 5 minutes.
Well, hello, this is the first time I've ever addressed this council. I moved here more than 45 years ago. My aunt and uncle were the Carters. Ike and Edna, they were the first founders of the Fairbanks North Star Volunteer Fire Department out there in Bradway. My uncle designed that building.
Wonderful.
I've always kept out of the public eye, and I realize now it's about time to get stepped back up into it. I'm here to offer any services I can, especially for the police department. I have very unique, rare bloodline of German Shepherd. Spent 15 years looking for it. It's the original line of German Shepherd. Find it very often. I will donate and I help train. Expense to the city. I'm willing to. And uncle went out of the way to help out. It's my turn now. So I come here just to let you know.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Yes,
Questions?
please,
Oh,
Mr. Jacobson.
Your dog, when it's trained, what is it trained to do?
This one, the only thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't lead the blind or the deaf. The entire bloodline is full sensory. They DNA tested 100% German Shepherd. Most people don't realize the original line of German Shepherd, they bred the wolf into it because that's the only way you keep the wolf away from the wolves. That's what they did. 100% Shepherd. They come from Eastern Germany. The bloodline itself, the maternal line, is not German Shepherd. It comes from a line of dog that is over 25,000 years old, and I can prove that by all the data that I have done over the years. Very few people will get an animal like this. I am my aunt and uncle, my uncle did the old freight dogs, the old fashioned freight dogs back in the 50s. He moved here in 57. When I was 15 years old, I was professionally showing and training animals. So I have a couple years experience and I'm willing to part with that knowledge and share others. It's time. Do anything I want them to do. They're a little bit too smart though. In the house, you have to deadbolt the door and lock it, and they can still, if they want out, they will undeadbolt the door, and they will unlock the door, and they will let themselves out. They problem solve. I've had German Shepherds my whole life. White German Shepherds are considered some of the most intelligent there is. This particular bloodline makes that old white German Shepherd I had look like special needs. I'm not exaggerating. They are not for most people. Most of the public will never get one. And I've decided at this point, I want to be able to help the police department. They're excellent animals. They're very rare and unique. He's full century. Last February at work, I work for the federal government. An individual was having an episode. They didn't know. They just thought it was heartburn. The dog kept signing off. I said, something, my dog, something's wrong. I'll go to the doctor. She did. She let me know that she was having a mild heart attack. Didn't even know it. Sign off all the time. They can read so many different aspects of a human being. It absolutely is incredible. I've had dogs my whole life. But this particular line, I can't just be greedy and keep it to myself anymore. I want to share it out, and I want to share it to those who deserve it and who respect it and who has a need and a desire for it. Share it with the city of North Pole if they're willing.
Did you know that we had a canine unit here many years ago? And so our new chief probably could discuss with you what potential use.
Work with me and we'll.
Thank you for coming in this evening. Beautiful dog, truly.
He just turned 3. He's only 155. He's still growing.
Calm and gentle, the paws. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll get 165 to 170. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, beautiful. Madam Clerk, who's next?
Somebody else signed up on the roster. I don't have anybody here waiting online. Barbara Haney.
Hi,
Hi.
how you doing? My name is Barbara Haney. I live in North Pole, outside the city limits. I'm here speaking, in my opinion, as a private citizen, just in case anybody was wondering. I'm not representing the assembly, but I am here to talk a little bit about assembly business because I have an ordinance coming up this Thursday, and it's on absentee voting. And it's ordinance 2510. And I hope that you will also support it. So here's a few things that it does. First off, on the absentee ballot, you know how you have the signature for the witness? Instead of a signature, we're asking people to print. Because if you haven't been to a school lately, they do teach cursive, but most people don't really have what I would call a true signature anymore. They have basically kind of connected print. So it asks for people to print their name and a signature because really, quite frankly, nobody can read those signatures anyway. And the second thing it does is it limits how many people you can be a witness for. And I think it's 3. It's like a husband and wife can witness each other's, maybe if they have a grown kid or something. And if they both have parents, one can witness one and the other. But what we're trying to get at is preempting what we call a lot of harvesting, where people go into the nursing homes and they're not connected with that person in any way and gather up absentee ballots of people who are essentially not functional, and bring those in. I mean, it's different if they're functional. It doesn't limit it for like the city clerk, for example. Emily will be able to, there's no limit on how many she can witness. Obviously, in her capacity as a clerk, postal workers have an unlimited capacity, an unlimited number. It's just for, people who don't fit in any of the square categories. The other thing it does is and this is the biggest thing that I think for you folks, I think those 2 things probably are not a big deal for the city of North Pole. The biggest thing is it moves the date of when those ballots are due. At the present time, that we wait and wait and wait after the election, and we wait and we wait and we wait. And finally, a couple weeks later, we cut off the time for ballots to arrive. And what this does is it picks up that timeline, it picks it up and moves it so that ballots are due on election day. And if you think about it, an awful lot of our absentee ballots are emailed anyway, or they're in person. So there really is a very limited number of people for whom those ballots come in late. And even right now, if you look statewide, most of those are in Anchorage. They're not even in Fairbanks. So we have election laws really that are written to cater to Fairbanks. Ours do trickle in, but it's only because the timeline to send out the absentee ballots is so late. So if we pick up that whole timeline and move it forward 2 weeks, then you could send out those ballots earlier, the absentee ballot requests, applications, and then the ballots can go out earlier and they can come back on election day. And we don't have that long extended wait to find out 2 weeks later after the election who won. And I think it would allow a much better flow of business for at least the borough. And I would imagine also for the cities as well. So it is for the borough. It doesn't affect the city. So the city could still use that 2-week extended timeline, but it would be kind of awkward. So I'm hoping that you'll support it and maybe give consideration to also amending your absentee ballot numbers as well. So anyway, and I'm happy to listen to any feedback you might have, although I know right now at this time it's kind of a one-way conversation, but thank you very much for your time and attention. Which one?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Claus, I saw were you wishing
Mr.
to?
Yes.
Yes, please, go ahead, Mr. Jacobson.
So Barbara, the federal government, what is their extension for after the election for them to collect their absentee ballots from military folks that are all over the world?
Well, right now, in most states, they are due on election day. I don't know if you're aware of that or not.
I knew that
Unless-
had to be postmarked by the election.
No, they're due on election day. States that are much bigger than Alaska, and you can look it up online. There's like 18, 19 states, and they are states with a heavy military population, like Florida and Texas. Those are big military states. All their ballots are due on election day, and what they do is they literally pick up their timeline and they move it forward 2 weeks. So they make those applications available earlier than what we currently do. And so they get the ballots to the voter earlier. And so those ballots can get back on time. And quite frankly, in this borough, an awful lot of them are by email anyway. So, I mean, if you're in Germany, you're probably doing it by email. You're probably not mailing it in. And email absentee ballots have been quite a thing for a while now. I mean, how long does an email take? You know, and this isn't 1980 anymore where you have to put it in a pouch and it goes to wherever, you know.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? I mean,
Councilman Claus.
yes.
That's the same question. Thank you.
And it's not an effort to disenfranchise the military. And by the way, if you've ever looked at the election returns for Eielson Air Force Base, they're not large. We're talking maybe 30 people vote on base. So,
Councilman Schuster, did you have a question?
I don't have a question, no.
Okay, go ahead. Councilman
Keller.
Keller.
So concerning those that can actually witness for more than 3, if your memory is correct, what are the positions that these people hold? Postal workers, clerks? What are the ones that
It's currently in code. And all I'm doing is restricting the number of, they are not city employees or borough employees or federal employees.
Okay.
I think it's like a captain in the Coast Guard, in the reserves or military personnel, like your commanding officer can witness you. There's no restrictions on that.
Was there one for notary?
No, notaries have no restriction.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
It's just for, in fact, the reason for the witness signature is because you don't have a notary. That's the whole point. If you have a notary, you don't have to worry about it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Miss Haney. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks
And
for coming down
like I
this
said,
evening.
take a look at your own code and see if that's something you want to do or not do, or I'm willing to listen. Thank you.
My name is John Poirier. I'm here speaking as a private citizen representing the North Pole Grange Gallery. And I'd like to address the council in the city of North Pole and request that you consider becoming a certified local government for the purposes of historic preservation as administered by the state of Alaska. And the reason I ask that is it's a selfish motive. I'm the guy who runs the Grange Gallery and have been trying to get the place put on the map for historic preservation purposes. And this would be yet another way to elevate the city of North Pole in importance statewide from the state's perspective as and I'll use the term again, certified local government. The term they use is CLG status. There are probably 30 or 40 certified local governments in the state of Alaska right now. The city of Fairbanks is one. It's within the borough. The borough and the city, there's some ambiguity, but they share the same name. And from the state's perspective, it's the same entity. The geographic boundaries define what the borough is and what the city of Fairbanks is. So there are two separate distinct sets of boundaries. And within the borough boundary, there's the city of North Pole boundary. That could be eligible, that is eligible to be a certified local government and to deal directly with the state of Alaska, primarily for receipt of grant funding that becomes available to the state of Alaska and could trickle its way down to the city of North Pole and hopefully end up in the hands of the North Pole Grange Gallery, which is recognized in the borough as a historically significant property, soon to be recognized nationally as a national historic property. So once again, would like the city to get involved and become a certified local government. And again, I'm selfish and I just want to see some recognition for the city and for the Grange Gallery. Thank you.
Questions?
Hi.
Hi.
Would you please explain to the city council the presentations you have and the shows you have on Fridays usually, and also Mondays at the Grange?
It's a separate topic, if that's
I know.
okay.
Well, the Grange, I like the Grange myself. So-
Okay, so we do several things for the community, and I'll expand on yours. One of the biggest events that we do for the whole community is what we do on the 4th of July, and we hold a festival for the whole community. It started off just being a picnic, but now it's turned into a full-blown festival, and we're on the verge of calling it a music festival. It's getting bigger and bigger each year. So that is an extremely complex thing to put together, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job on that. In addition to that, we do regular art shows. We used to be able to do them on a regular basis, and for a while we were open every Friday night, but we were shorted on funds this year and were unable to do what we had been doing in the past. So it's caused us to rethink. That's why I'm here saying, hey, if we're not getting money directly from regular funding sources from bed tax and stuff, I'm just opening up other avenues. The certified local government approach is one. It's not a guaranteed thing. It just opens up another door that would allow this to happen. And the thing I think you're referring to, Santa Claus, is the Monday night event that we have been doing at the Grange pretty regularly. For as long as I've been affiliated with the Grange, on and off, we've always allowed the Grange Hall, the building itself, to be used not for political purposes, but for an extension of governmental purposes. So for example, one of our rules is we talk about all kinds of topics at this meeting. But for example, we will not discuss anything related to City of North Pole business on a Monday night while there's a meeting in progress. So if you want to talk City of North Pole business, you got to come here to talk City of North Pole business. Similarly, for the borough level business, we don't have a conflict in time on Monday nights, but we don't waste a lot of our time talking about borough level things because we give people an opportunity to do their business on Thursday nights, on the nights of borough assemblies. It gets to be a little bit dicey when we're talking about state and federal level. At state level, we're in District 33, so as long as I've been involved with the Grange, we've always invited and have an open relationship with whoever the elected official is for the senator or for the legislative seat, make the space available and give them a forum to allow people to come in and locally discuss business. It changes from time to time. If you recall, they used to have offices right here in North Pole. Now all of the offices are in Fairbanks. So we've been taking advantage of that, saying, hey, if you want to meet your rep or your senator, we invite them on a regular basis every Monday night, same time as the city council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for being here this evening.
Is there anybody else that would like to testify here in chambers? Thank you, Tammy. If you just sign up on that list.
I did, and I'm actually 4, so I wasn't sure whether, what order it was. So my name's Tammy Wilson. I'm part of the North Pole area, and I hope it's not a waste to be involved in the borough news, but sometimes it might feel that way. So I have two things. One, I have an ordinance coming up. I'm speaking on my own behalf, not the assembly. Just making sure that I don't have an ethics violation when I leave here. So what I have proposed to do that will go on the October ballot is decrease the bed tax by 4%. That 4% would go to the borough and not to the cities. That's why I'm here talking about it now. One of the issues that we had during the budget process was we talked about the Carlson Center and we talked about Mary Sy and talked about other parts of our recreational areas and what would be easier to do, to have some type of fee to get in there. We used to, Chino Lakes charge $4 and help our college students out as they sat there, but they found that that wasn't really worthwhile. We now have Tanana Lakes. We have a whole bunch of other things to do it. We talked about parking permits. That really became messy. So we've looked at other ways of doing it. But what this would do, it would not bring more money to the borough. What it would do would offset property taxes. We feel if people are going to come and visit and utilize the services that we pay for, it wouldn't hurt for them to chip in, and most I think would. We really just don't have that opportunity for them to be able to do that. So what we can do is we could put it on the ballot. We won't be voting ourselves to make the increase. It will be our job to let people know that what it does and let them decide whether or not it's something that they would like to do. We also, for those who didn't spend hours and hours with us on the budget process this year, we did take $500,000 from the Visitor Bureau to utilize for other things. We couldn't really necessarily designate it, but to me, that 65% was designated. They use it, they count on it, and at the last minute to take $500,000 of that wasn't fair. So, you know, how can we prevent that from happening? Because most things aren't one-time fees. We all say they are, but they usually aren't. So I just want to make aware it will not be on coming. It'll be come up in a couple of weeks. We'll have a work session on and come up. I believe it's the 27th of June. So if anybody has anything they want to say or put on there, but you know, what I like about it is that the voters will get to choose if this is the way they would like to have the bed tax done. And on another note, I received a couple weeks ago quite a bit of questions about the ethics violation that happened in the, you know, that we took up. Just so you know, if you don't know how our ethics works, is that you take your complaints to the ethic board. They determine whether or not you're guilty or not. And then it comes to the Borough Assembly, and that's just for the fine portion. So what I have here, and I'll hand it to the clerk, is actually the, so everybody has, you don't have to go look for it. It's just the imposed penalty and censure that happened, and then the findings of fact and conclusions of law that came from the Ethics Board themselves. And one reason that some of us want you to see it is because we know you're looking for an attorney. So we want to make sure you have all the proper information. There's nothing else, nobody's opinion in here, but we've thought it was important that you saw it. So I'll hand it to the clerk, if that's okay. It has your name and on it, but we decided it was cheaper to come here tonight than to mail it to all of you. Trying to save money. So if there's no other questions, or if there.
Go ahead, Councilman Jacobson.
Just to be sure that I understand this correctly, this ballot initiative is going to increase the hotel bed tax for all the hotels within the borough.
Correct.
And that will be a dedicated fund that will be offsetting property taxes on the borough mill rate.
So it's not a dedicated fund. We can't do dedicated funds. But because we have a revenue tax cap, and it's a tax, it's not a fee, it automatically gets put in to that calculation, and automatically, you know, the other way that we collect money is through property taxes.
And that's a 4% increase. Do you know what the current bed tax rate is?
It is 8%. This would bring you 12%, which is exactly what Anchorage charges.
We have been decades behind keeping such a low bed tax rate.
Well, and I think everybody enjoys. I mean, when you do put things on the chopping block, you hear from a lot of people in the community, which we did, which is good. And they want to keep their activities, and they're not, you know, it's not just borough residents that take part of those, whether there's swimming or events or anything that it has. And, you know, we wanted to do it in the least invasive way. And this would allow that, and also not feel like another $500,000 next year would need to be taken, because that's the group that actually gets people here to pay bed tax. And if we take money from there, then they're not able to go out and do all the same good work that they do.
Please.
So you're saying with this 4% increase will not affect property tax. Is there language in this ballot measure to actually for sure mention that property tax will not go up?
Well, first of all, property taxes can't go up because we're charging more for bed tax. So we have what's called a revenue tax cap. So it means that we can only collect a certain amount of revenue from taxes. Now, if we were charging like a parking fee or a fee into the park, that sits outside of that cap. So by increasing the amount of money that we get from a bed tax would make it to where we would have to lower something else. Well, the only other thing that we collect, is property taxes. And that will be for whomever is a yes or no to make that case.
So my point is last year we had the measure that dramatically failed at the borough level with a school tax, but the language was not definite, saying that everything will go to education. There was conditional statements, not a if then then. So I'm just making sure that when this ballot measure comes out, and that there is for sure language saying if and then, and not a may.
So it's very different types of measures you're talking about.
Okay.
So what they were trying to do is they were trying to increase the revenue cap by $10 million, which would have reset it. And so somebody would have to pay for that $10 million. We are not resetting the revenue cap. We will still be calculating exactly the same way. We will just be receiving more money from the bed tax. And therefore, the only other thing that we could lower, because we don't have any other kind of tax, would be property taxes. And you cannot, in the state of Alaska, you cannot dedicate funds on the local level nor on the state level. So, but just the cap itself, there is no other funds being collected that fall within that cap.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, please. Councilman Brandt.
So I'm not sure exactly how the borough bed tax works. Is it similar to how the alcohol tax works, where they exempt the first? So the borough exempts the first 5% of alcohol tax. And then that's why we have to charge 6% in the city, because we get our 5.5%, and then we have to give half a percent to the borough. Is that going to be the same way with the bed tax? Are we going to have to collect the 14% and or the 12%, pardon me, and give you the 4%?
So my understanding is the additional 4% that we charge, we will have to collect, and we will incur the cost of collecting that. The 8%, it will not change how you collect. It will be an additional form that those in the city of Fairbanks and North Pole will have to have now, one for 8% and one for 4%.
So that's my question. So in the city of North Pole now, it will be 12%?
Yes, and you will get 8% of that
We'll still
12%.
get our, okay,
We're not sharing.
right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it's the same way with the alcohol tax then. Okay, thank you.
And we will also incur the cost. So we are not expecting the city to do it and then give it to the borough.
If I may ask, what is your estimated revenue from the additional 4% you plan on taking in if this initiative passes?
That will come up at the finance committee meeting in a couple weeks. Stand by. Because that has to be done by the finance.
Okay,
So
so-
what we were just trying to do as far as the 12% was not to be like the highest in the state, kind of like Mr. Jacobson said, I went and looked at what others had, and 12% seemed to be the average. There were some that, that don't charge anything, and there were a few that charge a little bit more, but Anchorage has been doing for quite a while, and they don't seem to have any problems filling up their hotels or bed and breakfasts.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here this evening. Anyone else signed up or wish to give public testimony? Okay, anyone online, Madam Clerk? Okay, with that, that closes citizens' comments for this evening. Moves us on to communications from department heads. Director of City Services, Tim, would you like to start this evening?
Sure. So with the utilities, we are working on a cross-connection control plan with respect. That's administered under the Safe Drinking Water Act 1986 and the State of Alaska Drinking Water Regulations. And going through that, we're going to need to send a couple people for training. So we can either send them out of state to get the training, or we're going to have to bring up somebody to train our guys for backflow prevention testers, and then the control specialists. The utilities is looking at purchasing 2 trucks this year. I'll come back with more information on that. I'm working on a scheduled fleet replacement plan that I'll come through, so we'll have a lot more information on that before we ask to actually purchase anything. I met with HUD about appropriation grants to potentially replace the city water main, which is a project that we're also working with Respec. We're at 95% design on that. And we're going forward with the railroad cross utility investigation where the water goes under the railroad. We're trying to figure out where exactly it is, and they're working with us on that. So the building department, we have 6 houses currently being switched over to natural gas, and somebody's putting in a pellet stove also. Then we have 6 other building projects around North Pole, a few residential houses, and then the tank farm at GBEA, and the reindeer farm expansion there on the highway. I've been meeting with our contracted engineers to find out what they've been doing, what they are doing, and what they're planning to do for us so that I can get up to speed with all the projects that we have started and what we want to start from the guy that was there before me. I met with the Office of Local Defense Community Coordination for DOT grants with the mayor today. So we can coordinate with them and try to get some money from Department of Defense because we're so close to Eielson if we find projects that are mutually beneficial. And for Public Works, we're getting estimates to fix the drainage issue over by the dog park. There's always a flood in the streets there. So we're working on plans to, fix the drainage issue, and we're getting quotes from local people to fix those. Our Public Works Department just got all their flowers in today, so they're going to be putting those in the roundabouts and around the city. We got our 4th and final summer hire came in today, so they're out cutting the grass and prettying everything up. We're finishing up the DUI processing station at the police department, and we're planning to install a mini split AC for their sergeants to keep them happy. Any questions?
Councilman Brandt, please, go ahead.
Sounds like you hit the ground running there.
Well, it's 3 departments, so
Right.
it's quite a
A
bit.
quick question. They're going to be paving Psalms Boulevard here pretty soon. Are you up to date on that at all?
Yes.
Okay. I talked to the mayor earlier about this. Back when I was on the planning commission, I recall that one of the conditions was that after a certain number of the lots were sold, that the roads and sidewalks had to be brought up to city specs. And currently, excuse me, we've already taken over the Blank Boulevard extension there, but instead of paving the sidewalk, they called it a walking path, and it says a dirt trail.
Right.
And that's already eroding. Do you know what their plan is on Psalms Boulevard? Is that going to be paved, or is it going to be?
No, I don't believe they're going to pave it.
Okay, so I do have an issue with that, just calling it a walking path instead of a sidewalk. We don't have any unpaved sidewalks in the city, so that is not city standards. So if there's some way that we can address that, because that's going to be an ongoing maintenance issue for us in the future.
Look into that.
And then also from Blanket Boulevard to Lake Drive, there is a road, I believe it's called Frontier Drive. Currently, it's not paved. Do you know if they're going to open that up and pave it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can get that for you.
Okay, because that is not supposed to be opened up to Lake, but currently it goes all the way through from Blanket to Lake, but they did not pave it when they paved blanket. So I'm just making sure that they're not going to be paving that and opening that up when they do Psalms. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Jacobson, please.
Thank you. This spring, I noticed that there was a lot of activity with those apartments that are adjacent to North Pole Elementary School, removing their snow accumulation from the parking lot. Was that done by a private contractor, or did the city haul that snow away?
If I may, Councilman Jacobson, they hired a private contractor to haul off their snow. The city did hire our contractor that we use to haul snow away from the lot that the city owns, the old water treatment plant next to the senior center where we pile that all winter long, clearing Fifth Avenue. But Tanana Apartments did hire their own contractor to clear all that snow. That wasn't a city service.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Moving on, Madam CFO, the mic is yours, ma'am.
Good evening. On Friday, I was out on vacation, but we did receive a rough draft of the audit and a letter to the governed body. We're reviewing that now. We have a meeting with the auditor at 2 o'clock tomorrow. It's a Zoom meeting. And then we have some things that we have to take care of. I did talk to the auditor about having some new council members, and she offered to do a workshop if that's something that you guys want to see. That way she could kind of field all the questions before it goes on YouTube. So just, I guess, I'd like to hear what your thoughts on that is. I also will not be here on the 16th for that meeting. Michelle offered to come and sit and listen.
I would definitely like to take part in that.
What part? The workshop? Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt and ask. So would it be a workshop before a council meeting, or would it be a special meeting so you could be in attendance?
That's kind of what I'm kind
Yeah.
of trying to figure out. So any thoughts?
Well, I do think it'd be better if you were there.
I would feel better if I was
Yeah.
there.
Okay. We certainly can look into that. This is the first time hearing of it, so I appreciate you bringing it up. We certainly can talk about that and come up with a date for a workshop. I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe in the meantime, you'll be able to send out the audit preliminaries to the entire council so we can review it after you're done reviewing it. That would be helpful for us to kind of have some preliminary information to base our questions off of instead of having that all sprung on us
I
during
just
a
got it
workshop.
this morning because I was out on Friday.
Right.
Okay.
Yep,
So I haven't even reviewed it all yet.
gotcha.
Okay.
When you're done, if you could share that
I sure
with
will.
the body, that would be great. Any other questions for Madam CFO? Okay, on to you, Chief.
Well, a very good evening to each of you. A couple things to share. Operationally, we're doing very well. Big shout out. He stole my thunder already, but to the Public Works Department, especially Michael Malatak for his work. The movement of our data master area has been a long time coming, right? And the whole idea is we have a area now that is segregated from the normal space in the agency where we can have individuals for that part of the processing without potentially contaminating the rest of the building. So that's very nice. He built us a very nice, secure area that I would invite any of you to come over and take a look at. So that's good. The vehicles, I finally called the company and told them if they don't get something moving, I'm going to fly down there and take the cars from them. And so later that day, I got a call back from the CEO. Long story short, they agreed to ship all of them to our door for free, both of them. So I told them, you know what, we don't hold grudges. If you guys provide us good service, we'll continue to use you, but there's got to be good communication back and forth. And so he assured me that would continue. And so I'll be reevaluating them next year to see if we continue to use them, but at the very least, that's a pretty sizable cost savings for us this year. All right, beyond that, do you guys have any questions on those points? Okay, I do have a couple things I want to bring to your attention as far as event that took place this week that I think is very important that you're all aware of. But before I do that, I need Sergeant Pergandy to step up here. He's the blue sheet, so he knows.
I do not know what a blue sheet is.
Into the mic so that we get this for posterity. Thank you, Chief.
So being that it's very important that we recognize the efforts of our officers and when they perform exemplary work, I have prepared this commendation that reads as follows. On Monday, May 12th, 2025, Sergeant Chris Pergandy responded to assist at the scene of an officer-involved shooting. The primary agency was FPD. Sergeant Pergandy arrived on scene and immediately began checking on the FPD officers that were directly involved in the incident. As there were no other FPD supervisors present, Pergandy began to direct officers regarding scene protection and also EMS access. He also started to cordon off the crime scene, and he advised other officers to help with this task. When FPD supervisors arrived, Sergeant Pergandy, along with Officer Nicholson, transported 2 of the involved FPD officers to FPD. Pergandy gave the officers helpful advice concerning post-shooting voluntary statements. Sergeant Pergandy's actions during this crisis and his sound decision-making while on scene reflect very highly on himself, his agency, and the law enforcement profession. Because of Sergeant Pergandy's initiative and timely directions, the scene was preserved and appropriate witnesses were contacted, which further enhances the integrity of the case.
Nice job, sir. Thank you for representing the city and your department very well. Appreciate that. Chief Smith, anything else?
Yeah, just one more thing. So I'm providing you a packet with some photographs of an incident that occurred yesterday. And the reason I do this is because I can't fit all of you in one patrol car at the same time for a ride along. And so this provides some good perspective for each of you on a situation that took place yesterday. Disclaimer, there's no continuing investigation, and I have redacted the individuals involved off the photographs so their privacy can be maintained. But I do think it's very important that you see. I'll just walk through this very quickly with you. We responded to a report of a disturbance. 2 officers responded. Both of them are actually in this room tonight. The first picture is of Officer Bloom approaching the residence. If you turn to the second picture, that's them going up to the door. We have some other young family members involved that you can see there. The third picture is actually clearing the residence and getting those folks out of harm's way. Fourth picture is of what precipitated us being there in the first place. You'll notice that I drew a circle and notated what was reported. There was a fight over this object in the residence, and our officers responded. And then the final picture is still with that object in play, getting it away from the subject and resolving the situation with no injury or loss of life. The subject was then taken to the hospital for what's called a Title 47 for evaluation. The reason I share this, both as to commend the officers, but also to offer a little bit of perspective. This is a very small town, but these are the types of things we deal with on a regular basis. A couple weeks ago, we talked about approving the Chena contract, and one of the things I mentioned was it's really nice because then we have a second officer. The only reason there was 2 officers for this call was because Officer Bloom was working that detail and was able to respond. Otherwise, Officer Nicholson would have been in that situation by himself, because this is not a situation you can wait 20 minutes for the troopers to get here. You just have to go. So I share that for a couple reasons. One, over the next 5 to 7 years, one of my goals is to get us to the point where we don't have to work by ourselves the majority of the time to avoid this type of situation. That's going to be an increase in staffing, potentially. The other thing is I would just ask, when you don't see an officer, be aware that these types of things are going on, and please give us the benefit of the doubt and assume that something like this might be taking place, because it is. And I don't know about you, but I would say a little prayer for that officer to make sure he gets home safe that night. Because this is a small town, but these are the types of things we deal with, and we're dealing with them more and more and more as the time goes on. So I will be happy to take not any question about the situation, but if you have any, I welcome them.
Seeing none, I just want to say thank you to our officers that do such a fine job with your mentorship and your leadership and their training. It's a tough situation when things like that go down in our city, and we are all very thankful to have you around. So thank you, gentlemen.
That's all I have this evening, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Clerk.
I'm going to draw attention to my computer here because this year I put it on our homepage. This year they're doing a Get Out the Vote campaign, and by luck of the draw, Jeff Jacobson is going to be one of our council members that votes, and Mayor Church will vote. They're trying to get kids involved in voting, so K through 12. If you follow the rules, they're just if they follow the rules to sign up, they can win the contest. And the first 1,000 stickers that when people come in and early vote will be that design. So it's kind of a cool way to get the vote out. I too wanted to thank the Public Works Department because it's great to see the summer crew all out there cleaning up what has become North Pole's always beautiful, but they're making it much better. Maggie is out on vacation this week and next week, and then the following week she'll be attending the Northwest's Clerks Institute to follow along with her professional development. And the only other thing I just want to remind everybody often and all the time is candidate filing is the 15th from 8 o'clock in the morning until July 29th at 5 p.m. The withdraw deadline is 1 week later. And so I hope all 7, maybe 9 or 10 people that were interested will sign up again in just over a month for candidate filing.
Any questions for the clerk? Seeing none. That moves us on to ongoing project reports. And we have down here North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Rixey, thank you for joining us this evening. We can move the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
Part of the team. So anyways, yes, I'm here representing the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce here. I just wanted to give you a kind of a periodic update of what's happening and whatnot. I've given you each a package of what I'm talking about there, along with our new visitor guide. So, but anyways, recent successes there. One of the big ones is the big tent, which we realized when we put it up there actually is twice as big as the old city tent. The old city tent was 20 by 30, ours is 40 by 30. Took about 3.5 hours and about probably 10 people to put it up. So it's very stout. So anyways, and we want to thank obviously the Lions and the Masons for helping put that up there. I did also want to make mention that obviously the chamber is going to use it for their farmers market there, but if someone wanted to use it for another purpose there, they could reach out to the Welcome Center and do that. It'll be in place all the way through the end of August there, maybe into September, depending on the ground freezing and whatnot. So not wishing that to come soon, but anyways, Make a Shine campaign there, you know, that's a 3-part thing, highway cleanup, but also on Highway Cleanup Day, we do the 1-day special recycling collection. We started that last year. We actually doubled what we did last year, and I did want to thank the police for being out there collecting the old prescription drugs there. That went really well. So also recently under the big tent there, NAMI did the mental health run, and they had 160 walkers out there. That was fantastic. As I mentioned, a week ago Friday, we had our new visitor guide delivered to us, and we unveiled it all last week there, and we're making distribution for it there. We're really proud of it. Our challenge on that one this year, because we had a lot of articles that we wanted to put more in there because we wanted to represent Salcha and kind of moving this way all the way up to back of Fort Wayne right there. Had a lot of articles there, but we were asking people for pictures, and many of them wanted to share Facebook pictures, which is not magazine publishing quality. So that was a challenge. So we omitted a number of articles there, but we have them waiting for next year. So anyways, I'm very proud of our team that published this there. So, and that'd be the case there. Obviously, this past weekend was a fantastic day for the community here. We really had 3 events that gave people a reason to visit North Pole, starting with the Santa Seniors had their bazaar. Obviously, the Chamber had their spring bazaar in the mall, and then the Lions put on the Cruising with Santa car show and street fair there, and I put in your package there kind of some stats. So we had 132 show entries into that particular event. We actually had to cut off the cars because we ran out of space. We used every single spot in that event there, along with 9 food trucks, 30 vendors, and a crowd of about 4,800. And it's always relevant there is what's the economic impact of that there. And so I kind of gave you guys assuming if we assume the average family is about 2.5 people there spending just a mere $50, which is really easy to do with the food vendors. And so that's really conservative there. That represents about 1,900 families and about almost $100,000 being injected into our economy through that particular event there. So it's significant. And that's just speaking to what happened on that parking lot. That doesn't speak to the gas stations and McDonald's and restaurants and yada, yada, yada. So that's a significant event. It is the biggest event in the North Pole as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, our ongoing events and activities are include obviously the Welcome Center operations there. The foot traffic is continuing to grow there. We are always constantly looking for more information to share. Obviously, we're trying to share information about jobs, real estate, properties, their schools, childcare, all those things that a new family might need answers to when they arrive here. And so if you have information, give it to come visit the Welcome Center, share it with us there and help us push it out, and we'll do that. As well as some artists, there's still room for some more artisan consignments along with that. Construction fund, we're ongoing. We still have the Buy a Brick program, and we're looking for corporate donations, and we're also searching for some grants. And one of the things we're going to do, so Mayor Verhagen from Nenana came up here, was a guest speaker, and I think it was Marta or luncheon there. Our board is actually going to make a point to go down and visit the Nenana staff and get more in-depth knowledge of how they deal with the grants, because they've been very successful in that. And hopefully that'll help bring the full-blown Welcome Center to fruition a little bit more quicker there. Farmers market and artisan things. So we've embraced that. This Friday is the very first market. We did get some initial feedback on our proposed times. We were originally just going to go to 2 to 6 p.m. on Fridays. We've extended that on both ends. We're going to go from 1 o'clock till 7 p.m. On every Friday there with 2 food trucks on hand. The other thing that we're really excited about, so the Lions donated the gazebo that's on property right now behind the tent. So we're going to dedicate this to young entrepreneurs. We're actually calling it Kids Biz. So every week when we have the farmers market there, one kid of the local area here will be able to set up shop in that gazebo and sell or whatever their wares are, whether it's lemonade or crafts or whatever the case may be, just to spur that entrepreneurship there. And we're not going to charge them a fee. And it was interesting because we were doing research. Do they need a business license? And the fact is they don't need a business license as long as they don't make $1,000, which is highly unlikely there, but maybe we'll see. But also they might open it if they're very successful, then we'll bring them in as a regular vendor in there. But each kid to have, anyways, every Friday, just one kid will have the opportunity there over the course of it there. Firecracker Run, so that's our 5K run that we do right here at City Hall. It's June 28th. It's registrations on our webpage. So that's ongoing. Obviously, we're going to do the 4th of July parade. Again, the theme for this year is Red, White, and Mule. Registration is ongoing, again, through our webpage there. One of the things we're adding and we're bringing back from, I think it was 2015 was the last time, is a bike decorating contest. Again, the Lions are going to sponsor it there, and we have Madison Fitzgerald. She's a high schooler there that's spearheading it there, and she's going to get, I think, a number of you to be judges as to the contest. But the kids are going to stage themselves over there by the Thai restaurant or to the right of it there while we're staging for the parade. There's going to be lots of prizes. I'm working with Chris to get some bike helmets, because the intent is not only do they get prizes for decorating their bikes there, but they're also going to get a chance to ride in the parade. So with bicycle helmets, sir. So that'll be great there. So we're really excited about that. We have not published a lot of social media on that. We're waiting for 2 weeks out to make it more relevant to the target group that we're doing there. So anyways, the Make Us Shine campaign as far as junk car towing. So just a reminder for y'all. So we partnered with the borough last year and they gave us a $3,000 sponsorship, I think is the appropriate term. Anyways, we were able to work with that funds along with our funds and 2 tow companies, Axle Towing and Tug and Grin Towing, with some special rates there, and to get junk cars towed out of the yards and to K&K for recycling or some other place there for salvage or whatever the case may be. Last year, we were successful and got 30 cars towed out with our monies there, which are all said and total, we spent just under $5,000 on it. This year, the borough has given us a sponsorship there of $5,000. Our goal is 50 cars. And I will tell you, as of today, we're halfway there, 25 cars. So we're really excited about it. Everybody's jumping on it. And the question was as well, how far do we go out? So our 2 agreements with our agreements with the 2 tow companies is using the Welcome Center as the point of reference here as far as distance goes. We will go obviously all the way up to the back gate of Wainwright because that's how we define the North Pole community, and Nordale and Chino Hot Springs Road all the way out to Salcha, but 25 miles. That's the limit there. So, and everybody's taking advantage of it. So we're really excited about it. So, and then lastly is our You're Not Alone wall. That's the wall we have, the special wall we have over at the Terry Miller Memorial Park there. We do have a loaner library there and we have the food pantry and we still have 5 organizations that on a rotational basis, every Friday, they fill that thing and it is being well used. Usually we stock it on Fridays and by Sundays it's empty. And then we have a bunch of neighbors or residents that are supplementing that as well. So anyways, and then on your sheets there, I kind of gave you the 90 to 120 day outlook there as what's coming to. So any questions? Please.
Thank you, Howard, for all of the things that you do, both with the chamber and also with the Economic Development Committee. And I agree with you. The Cruising with Santa was a huge success. I was there multiple times, grabbing something, walking back to the house, eating it, going back for the next course. Coming, I even got Dr. Ben Marshall to come twice, so that was kind of fun. But my question is about the You Are Not Alone wall.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that calendar of which organization has which month? Because I know our church signed up for one of the months, but we're having a change in our young women's leadership.
I can
so-
reshoot that to you. So
Okay,
that's
that
cool
way I
there.
can
So,
tell them what they're responsible for.
yeah, yeah. So I can do that.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, please, Mr. Brandt. How many vendors do you have signed up for the farmer's market?
I think right now, so in the tent, we figured that we'd be able to put 12 in there using a 6x10 booth area and still have a walking aisle underneath it. So I think right now there's seven plus one, or seven vendors plus 2 food trucks. And which, as far as I'm concerned, that's a great start there. Obviously, it's going to build over the summer and everything else there. And we're going to stick to this. This is not something we're going to do a one and done. It's a give up. So this is extremely important to the community. It's an awareness thing there. It's a confidence thing too with vendors. They obviously don't want to waste their money coming out here, setting up, and then not making a lot either. So it's a mutual relationship, a symbiotic relationship. So yeah, so we're excited about that. This week, we do not have a kid signed up, though. We thought we did, and they said, hey, we'd rather come in August. So the gazebo is open. If you have someone in mind there, tell them, reach out to the Welcome Center. So, yeah. All righty.
Any other questions? Thank you, Howard, for all you do for our community.
Thank
It's
you.
huge.
I hope you appreciate the aerial picture I gave you there. So kind of gives you an idea of how many fits in that parking lot there. Oh, well. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us on to item 11, unfinished business.
I don't have anybody that signed up online to speak to this. Is there anybody in the audience that wanted to speak to this ordinance?
Can I get a motion to bring ordinance 2025-06 to the floor, please?
Move to bring ordinance 2025-06, amending Title 4, Chapter 8, Section 50 of North Pole Municipal Code to add exemptions for heating, fuel, natural gas, electricity, water, and sewer.
I'll second that.
Okay. So it has been brought to the floor, staff report. I think we can scroll down, if you will, Madam Clerk, to the changes as far as the strike throughs. Everyone has had one read through to kind of look over this and check it out. And maybe we can stop right there. So the additions of exemptions that we're adding, sales tax on heating oil and natural gas, 18, 19, sales of electricity provided through a regulated public utility or cooperative, and item number 20, charges for water and sewer services provided by a public or private utility within the city of North Pole. Are there any questions, comments, or changes?
I'm just trying to, Mayor, if I could.
Please, go ahead.
I'm just trying to remember what we discussed with the savings of this, those funds that we've already allocated funds to from July through the end of the year. Where are we coming up with that money to fill in the gaps?
Madam CFO, would you like to speak to that?
If you remember last week or last meeting, we moved $3 million into our AMLIP account, and that will more than make up the interest that we're going to make from that will more than make up for any lost revenue for the next 6 months on this. Besides that, we are currently way overtaxing our residents.
Okay, if I may, just point of order, please keep it to facts, not
These are facts,
opinions.
Mayor. So our revenues have been for the last 7 years. If you look at the audits, which are online, you can read through the audits. We are taking in millions of dollars more than we are telling the residents that we need for our budget. In 2022 and 2023 combined, we took in $4.1 million more than estimated through the budget. I assume that this year we're going to be, when the audit comes out, will be a similar situation, that probably $1 million or more extra. This year's budget, the mayor estimated $600,000 for online sales tax. Last year we took in $880,000 or something like that. So the estimates are very low, and they're conservative, and I understand why you did it that way. But then that added revenue that we're taking in is just going into reserves. So right now we have $10 million in our general fund reserve.
Okay, I'll stop you right there, if you will, Mr. Brandt. Anton, Councilman Keller, would you repeat the question, please?
So the question is the funds that we've already, with the date on line 118, it would go in effect July 1st. However, we have already forecasted to use the funds for the end of the year. So with us passing the budget as of last year, this ordinance is changing it halfway through a fiscal year for us. And that to me is very concerning, that we're changing our forecast, but we're also changing where this money is going to be going. And I understand your case in that we have revenue coming in from other places, but there's a couple of things that just doesn't sit right with me right now. And because we already passed this, and number two, we're trying to save money because we have some huge projects coming, and even if they're grants, they're half match grants. So that's my concern is just those projects that are coming, and this is already something that's in the works and already budgeted for.
And again, the money that we are going to be making in interest on the AMLIP account in that that we passed last meeting will make up for this lost revenue. We have, even if somehow for some weird reason we don't meet our revenue. We have $10 million in general fund reserves right now. That's over 1 full year of budget. At some point, we have to quit. That's over $4,000 for every man, woman, and child living in the city limits that we have in reserves of rainy day money. If for some reason we don't make our budget forecast, we can take some money out of that. We will make our budget forecast. We're not going to be taking money out of that. We're going to be adding more on top of that we don't need to. At the last budget meetings, I didn't recommend a single cut to the budget. And the reason is because cutting the budget is not going to save the taxpayers' money. The only way to save the taxpayers' money is to cut taxes. We could have cut the budget, but without reducing the tax rate, we're still collecting that same amount of money from the taxpayers, and it's just going into the reserves. At some point, we need to quit squirreling away more money. The borough has a $37.5 million budget reserve on a $210 million budget. We have $10 million in reserves on a $9.5 million budget.
So,
If I may, just real quick, to your point, sir, they do have that, but they also have some real fiscal constraints that they were just talking about here, raising bed tax to be able to afford general, simple services that should be provided by the borough through the bed tax. So if they were as flush as you are stating today, sir, they would not be increasing the bed tax to cover the general services that are needed for the borough.
I'm saying that their reserve is 37 million on a $210 million budget. Our reserve is 10 million on a $9.5 million budget. Our reserve is out of whack, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Brandt, I understand your concern about overtaxing. However, for the services that our citizens receive, in comparison to the taxes that just borough residents receive, I think they're getting a pretty good deal.
I didn't say they're not.
So, well,
what I'm saying is that we're taking in more revenue.
Through the chair, please, sir. Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay. So my concern is yes, we're taking in more than what our budget is. But to me, that's the rainy day fund for when we need to replace our water main. Where's that going to come in? We have the firehouse, the new fire department house, that's going to be coming up. We have other issues. Heaven forbid we have another sewer backup in the police department. There's other things. I'm one to, yes, I want to score away some, but at the same time, there's a need to prepare for the future and have a reserve so we don't have to come back in 2 years and say, hey, citizens, sorry, we're going to have to double taxes because we just had something happen. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brandt, your question really is when is enough enough? When is it enough for our general budget reserves? When is it enough until we can actually decrease the taxes? Is that your question?
Correct, yeah. That's a question that I posed to every single council member at the last budget meetings, and only one person replied, and they said 1 year's budget, if you recall. And now we have more than 1 year's budget. If we didn't collect another penny for an entire year, we have the money to pay for all of our services. And as far as replacing the water main and things like that, that's through the enterprise fund. That is not taxpayers' money. So you can't conflate the two. You keep doing that. And as far as replacing the firehouse, we're not paying cash for a new firehouse. We're going to get grants and issue immunity. That's how you pay for a firehouse. You don't save up $25 million and pay cash for it.
That would be wonderful if we could. Go ahead, Mr. Jacobson.
Yes. As I explained to you through the mic during the budget session, you can never have too much money in your reserve when you're dealing with so much unknown entities, such as our 50-year-old water mains throughout the heart of North Pole. If there were to be a failure of that, cars couldn't get to their houses because the road would be torn up. Businesses couldn't be open because they wouldn't have bathrooms available for the public. And there is no grant out there waiting for us to take. It takes years to write a grant, apply for it, and most of the time it comes with a hefty match, anywhere from 10% to 50%. So that's just the water system. And yes, it's part of an enterprise fund, but we don't have a big balance in the enterprise fund to do these major repairs or projects. We're going to have to transfer money out of our general budget if we want to get that project done in the near future. The design is going to be 95% done in a few weeks, and we'll probably see just what a hefty lift that's going to be. And so I would be careful with throwing out there that we are collecting money unnecessarily. We were able to give our police officers a significant raise 2 years ago that stopped the bleeding of our department. We were down 3 officers with more going out the door because other police departments in the interior had raised their wages so high. We had to be proactive and do that. You only can do that if you have flexibility with a reserve fund. And as you have found out that our reserve fund it grows with high interest rates. So I don't have a problem with that, the return on our investments, be doing other things to give relief to our residents. But I'm not in favor of anything that's going to be reducing our reserve fund. I will only support what's going to be increasing our reserve fund, because we cannot depend on the federal government. We cannot depend on the state to give us any meaningful grants.
Please.
Again, going back to the water main, that's the enterprise fund. I have been begging for years the city council to increase the FRR. And you're not doing it. Increase the FRR to the maximum that the RCA will allow. That's what that money is for, not general fund reserves.
And I did ask Danny in the budget session 2 years ago to do just that, and there was no interest on the council or on the utility department to increase those rates. In fact, they were using a reserve account to subsidize the operations of the utility fund.
And again, we can't do that. And
If I may, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we are way off topic here. If we can reel this back in, please, to the topic at hand,
okay,
which is ordinance 2025-06. Do you have a comment on this one way or the other?
yes.
Certainly, please, Mr. Brandt, go ahead.
Again, the estimate for the lost revenue, if you will, would be $125,000 to $150,000 a year. So that's only $75,000 maximum for the second half of the year. That's not a big ask. If we miss, I'll stay out of that, but I don't think it's a big ask. $125,000 to $150,000 a year out of a $9.5 million budget is not much to give back to the taxpayers that have been overpaying for the last 7 years.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, I believe we're through that. Please call the roll.
And I believe it was Mr. Williams firsted, Santa seconded. And on ordinance 2506, amending Title 4, Chapter 8, Section 050 of North Pole Municipal Code to add exemptions for heating fuel, natural gas, electricity, water, and sewer. Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
No.
Mr. Keller?
No.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Please leave the room if you're going to make comments while we're deliberating.
Mr. Williams, sir.
Mr. Claus,
No.
and Mayor Church.
Yes.
Does anybody want to change their vote? Because if nobody wants to change their vote, that passes with 4 affirmatives and 3 noes.
Anyone wish to change their vote? Thank you, Madam Clerk. Brings us on to item 11B, request to council for the Brentag contract. I'd like to move to bring that to the floor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Church.
Move to award the Brentag contract.
I'll second that. Thank you. That leaves me, I guess, as a staff report. So I started looking at ways to save the city money through the enterprise fund and really dial down our ability to go to some of these larger contractors and ask for discounts based on quantity and volume, along with length of business that we've had if an agreement already isn't in place. Brentag is one of those where we did not have an agreement in place and we were purchasing our water treatment chemicals, our sewer treatment chemicals at full price, which is very unfortunate. It certainly hasn't helped our enterprise fund at all. And I know $5,000 a year, which will be our average savings, doesn't seem like a whole lot. Every dollar and dime we can save certainly does matter and does make a difference. Any questions about the contract? Do we have anyone signed up to give testimony on this, Madam Clerk?
I have nobody signed up to give testimony on this item. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak to this?
Any other discussion about the Brentag contract? Please, Mr. Jacobson.
Mr. Brent brought up a question at our last meeting, and did we get an answer back?
We did, yes, sir. The delivery fee is in there. Go back 2 pages here. Flip this one right here. It's $175 as a delivery fee. And I'm sorry, we went over this before you made it here.
Right.
I did have some old invoices from Brentag. Usually they did a fuel surcharge and transportation charge to move the chemical and deliver that. You can see the 2 different transportation charges, one at $172.50, one at $167.50, and then a $25 insurance and security surcharge. I asked them if they would give us a hard number on that so that it was fixed and didn't move. Together they came up with their attorneys at $175 and felt confident and comfortable with that. So that's
Thank
where
you
we're at
for
for that.
doing that.
Yep,
Mayor Church,
please.
does that transportation fee, does that include insurance?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Any other questions? Madam, please call the roll.
On the request to council for the Brentag contract, which was postponed from the May 19th, 2025 regular meeting, Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster.
Abstain.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Claus,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Brandt, and Mayor Church.
Yes. With that, it takes us on to item 12, new business, of which we have none. We'll move promptly on to item 13, council comments. And Madam Clerk, where do we start this evening?
Mr. Keller, you randomly come up, and so you are first.
First off, I can't believe it's June already. Can anybody else? I mean, I would jokingly say like, hey, we've got a week and a half and we'll start losing daylight again. So a little bit of realist here. Sorry, but don't worry, it's still getting warmer. That's true. It has been pretty chilly lately. I just wanted to make mention of the healthy discussion that we just had. I think it's good for us to openly discuss, and one person calls it debate, another person calls it discussion. Depends whether or not you're in a marital relationship or not, I think. That was pretty good. No, it's really good to express how we feel, and to express not just our personal thoughts, but the thoughts and the expressions of the other citizens in the city, because that's who we represent. I'm trying to devise ways continually of how to get the community involved with reaching out and receiving what they would like to have done. For instance, what would they think about some of the things that we talked about tonight? The bed tax increase for the borough's ballot measure that's going to be coming up. The taxes on utilities. What they would think, what should be our priorities. Are we talking to our fellow citizens about what they think we as a city should do? Do they think that the business atmosphere is good, or do we need to increase the effectiveness of the business atmosphere? More welcoming, or is it already welcoming? These are things that I feel is important. And I enjoy having conversations with citizens, not just of North Pole area, and then also I love it when people compare us to Fairbanks and how well we're doing. So I thoroughly enjoy being here in this community. I love the small town feel, and continue to enjoy being a citizen and being a neighbor to all. So, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Mr. Williams?
So, to the time, probably about 99% always trying. Our water main being as old as it is, when that sucker goes, it's gonna go. And gotta repeat it somehow, some way, because people gonna complain. Come on terms that no water, you can't close, you can't and flush toilets. There's going to be a problem, and people will whine. So we have to look at things long term. And once again, you might have to rob Peter to pay Paul, but it won't be for that long. But you just got to get the little things done. But being 25 years old, when it goes, it's going. Nothing we can do except do the best we can. All I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Brandt?
I wasn't planning on talking about this tonight, but I've had discussions with Mayor Turch before about selling the North Pole utilities. I think it's time. Our net position in the utilities is over $100 million. That's our net position. We could take that money, invest it in a permanent fund, and bring in, if all we did is put that money into the AMLIP account, that'd bring in $4.5 million a year. The problem with our utilities is there's a large portion in this city that doesn't have utilities. I live in the city limits. I don't have water and sewer. Mr. Williams, you're in my neighborhood. You don't have water and sewer. I assume you don't have sewer where you're at. But people live all the way out in Moose Creek and halfway down Badger Road that are not city residents, city taxpayers, are getting the benefits of city taxpayers' monies. That's a big issue with me when you're talking about taking money out of the general funds, out of the taxpayers' pocket, the city of North Pole taxpayers' pocket that would benefit the utility customers that, I don't know the actual numbers, but it's probably close to half of the utility customers are outside of the city limits now. I'm sure more than half of the infrastructure is. We've been kicking down the road for years, for 20 years, we've been talking about replacing that water main, and it hasn't been done. For the last 10 years or so, we've had to move that affluent pipe. That keeps getting kicked down the road. We can't keep doing that with our utilities. And I think a private utility, obviously, would not be, they would be better equipped to handle replacing the infrastructure than we are, because we are not our rates are artificially low. The FRR is too low. If you're relying on the general reserve fund to pay for the enterprise fund, that can't happen. I'm sorry, but that cannot happen. So I think it's time to at least look into selling the utilities, setting up a permanent fund, much like Fairbanks did with FMUS back in the early 90s. They benefit to this day from that fund that they have now. So anyway, something to think about. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Brandt. Mr. Schuster?
Yeah, I stopped in Mayor Church's office last week and just brought up a couple ideas. One, I'd like to see the city, if anybody could take it on, create a Facebook page just so residents are more in the know on, meetings and events going on and stuff like that. I think, City of Fairbanks has one. The borough obviously has one. I think City of North Pole should have one as well. And the North Pole Police Department do, but the city doesn't. So I think be something to look into. I want to thank Chief Smith and the police department for the great work yesterday and congratulate Lieutenant Cash. I know he'll do a great job for the city. One other thing, I was looking at our business license application. I was actually filling out one for the city of Fairbanks, and there was one page, and I go to ours and it's 5 pages. And so if there's a way we can simplify that, I think we should look into it. Theirs is, a sliding scale, and we have sales tax, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't bring it down to 2 pages, say. So I'm excited about the ordinance we passed tonight. I think it's a good step forward on not taxing citizens on basic necessities that they need to live. And so I'm excited that got pushed through. And yeah, like everybody says, I mean, the utilities is kind of a lively debate. And I think it's something we do need to not say next year, oh, they're 26 years old, and the year after that say, oh, they're 27 years old. I think we do need to look into some options and consider. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Mr. Jacobson?
Thank you. During our budget deliberations, we approved funding for the Highway Park Playground improvements, and that was, I think, a $150,000 grant that requires 100% match, but we only funded 75,000. So part of your offset for that is going to be siphoning that interest money off to a project that we are required to match $75,000 more than we have in the budget. So it's important that we're not fast and loose with city reserves. I've had several comments from individuals who are crying and pleading for the Terry Miller Memorial Park to be sanded and repaired and repainting. A lot of kids are getting splinters, and so that's another expense that we need general fund balance funds for that, since it's not in our budget to do that overhaul. The benefit for non-city residents to get city water was over a 15-year lawsuit battle that the city waged against the refinery owners, 3 of them. And the state of Alaska worked with us, but it took us 15 years to get a settlement so that the refinery and the owners of the refinery paid up for what they did to people's well water. And so this was a health issue that could have gone either way. where we could have lost that case, and then you'd have all these people outside city limits and some in city limits with bad water. But that took a lot of time and money to do that, and we just finally settled on it last fall, I believe.
Yeah.
Right before the end of the year, and that was significant. We have applied for grants and even received some grant funding for the main water project. That's going to be the design work from Senator Murkowski's office, and so then we can start looking at how to phase that in. But it's not going to be cheap, because you're talking about displacing neighborhoods and businesses access to their properties, because our water lines run through all the streets. So you're going to have to dig up. Even if you do it in sections, there's going to be people who can't drive into their driveway. Their water may be turned off for an extensive amount of time. That's going to be on us to come up with those costs. A grant will not pay for, quote, residents' discomfort or displacement because they can't drive into their driveway. But that's important to a lot of people. So it's a challenge. It's one thing that keeps me up at night, is that any day we could have our main water mains bust, and we don't have the means to take care of it. That means schools closing down, Safeway closing down, the fast food restaurants closing down. It's a real threat. And so I'm very protective of our fund balance, because when this hits, there's not going to be enough time to react to that, to fix that. Every time we cut into our main line, it's very difficult to patch of a patch. And that's where we're at. I think it's basically our frozen ground that's keeping those pipes from busting right now. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Mr. Claus.
Thank you. Just having heard what Mr. Jacobson said, I live in a unit that faces where our water main has failed 3 times there so far. And I'm kind of sensitive to that particular topic, and I think we should have enough funds at some point to pay for the water main replacement throughout the city. So I'm pretty sensitive to having that reserve kept up at a maximum, if not increased. And I'm also sensitive to what Mr. Brandt was saying about perhaps considering selling our utility, as it were. In addition, kudos and thanks to our police department for stepping up, as always, to protect our community here. Years and years ago, I went on a couple of ride-alongs in the NYPD, and it's kind of an eye-opener. We kind of watch what we watch on television as far as different shows and stuff go, but people we have here at the North Pole Police Department actually are risking their lives to protect us. And it only takes 1 second, 1 instant for something to go wrong. So double protection, I think, is worth it. I fought for it at the NYPD years ago, having 2-person patrols. And I think that's something we're going to have to work towards, just as the chief was saying, over the next several years. So thanks again for going above and beyond the call of duty, and thanks for protecting us. Enjoy the nice weather. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Claus. Mayor Church.
I want to say thank you to all of our council members. I love the difference in opinions that we have, and the fact that each one of us here is trying to do what is truly best for our city and what is truly best for our citizens. And I think that I know that makes the best decisions for our city. And I really do appreciate that from each and every one of you. I want to thank our staff for doing such a wonderful job at keeping things moving forward. Very excited for Tim, Mr. Glidden, to make things happen as Director of City Services. And please thank the fellows at Public Works for doing such an excellent job with the care of our city that we get to see, and the utilities for taking care of the things that nobody ever sees. It is all underground. Nobody ever sees the work and the dedication that goes into the utilities department. We see them traveling around, and we very much appreciate their service. Chief, thank you to your department for doing everything that they do to protect our city and to protect themselves, and the excellent training that they have been given to accomplish that feat is it's pretty amazing and courageous, and we appreciate each and every one of them. Congratulations to Lieutenant Cash. We're very happy to have that position filled, and hopefully, Chief, you can move your department forward without any major changes here for a good couple of years and just keep making things better for our community. I would like to thank Clear Space Force for inviting the interior mayors to come out and visit. And it was a great time that was had, and really very much appreciate their efforts to keep us safe on a global level. With that, I would like to move to adjourn.
I'll second that one.
We are adjourned at 8:46. Please don't leave until I give you the stuff.
Because it was $250, and we
Homework to do.